Recording is the main part of a podcast, or at least what most people think is the main part because it's what most people see or hear. But if you're actually making a podcast, what's going on behind the camera is just as important, if not even more important. This is part 3 of 4 of the How I Make Podcasts from My Bedroom series. And in this video, I'm going to tell you everything I do before, during, and after I record, what pre recording lists I use. We'll take a look at my recording space, and then I'll end with some tips that I learned while recording. And hopefully, if you're making a podcast, this will help make recording less stressful, less of a struggle for you. Sound good? All right, I'm Dom, your professional copywriting friend documenting my content journey. And this series is the behind the scenes of how I'm doing it. Again, this is part 3 of 4 of the How I Make Podcast from My Bedroom series. So if you haven't watched part 1 and 2, outlines and show notes, go back and look at those and come back and then check this video out. And I'll put the links in the description for both of those videos as well. All right, so let's jump into what I do before, during, and after I record, right? In this video, of course, I'm not going to record the example that we're doing, the copywriter's handbook. That's going to be a separate video of me talking, the actual podcast for that video, but I do want to show the behind the scenes part because I do think that that's really important. So before I record, I do just a couple things. First, I make sure that I have everything that I need. There's a pre-recording list that I use. Let me show it to you. All right, this is the pre-recording checklist I use. Very simple, very basic. I just make sure that I have everything that I need. I record these podcasts from my phone, so I make sure that I check the battery before I record so that the phone doesn't die in the middle of recording. And if my power is low, then I'll just plug it into the charger, which is right next to the desk that I'm using. I, of course, have the outline and the computer, which is what we're using right now. I have a phone stand. This one isn't, I don't know, 100% necessary. You can definitely survive without a phone stand, but it definitely helps to make it easier. And just so you can see real quick, this is my phone stand. Just a regular basic phone stand. Got it from Amazon. It was like $7. Okay, so back to that list. I have my headphones, which are currently in my ear. I do like a quick lighting check. Most people starting out may not have like a ring light or anything, so I literally just use a window. This is the window right here, and I just open it and close it. And that sounds so simple, so basic, but that's what I do. But opening and closing it makes, there helps to be more light, less light, whatever's necessary. The chair that I'm using, and then just to make sure that the area is quiet. So that's it. That's my pre-recording checklist. All right, so after I do everything on the checklist, I do just a couple more things. Check light. Oh, I already said that. I check the lighting. Um, and then I rehearse a little bit. Like, I won't go through necessarily the entire video, but I make sure that I practice the hook at least 3 or 4 times. That way, it's very concise and catchy. It flows. That helps to get people on the video, gets them to stick around. Most videos, if you, or really everyone's videos, because all of our attention spans are, kind of low. If you don't grab someone's attention in the first like 30 seconds, then they're going to click off. So, super important to practice that opening. I also practice the transition hook or transition call to action at the end of the video, which is usually just, hey, if you want to learn more about this thing, then click on this video here. Great way to help transition people into other videos that you have, increase views, help people find the answers that they're looking for. And that's pretty much it. I practice those two. And then before I record, sometimes I'll just turn on the camera and just do something random. Um, that kind of helps to tone down the fear of being in front of camera, I guess. Or at least it does for me. Like, I'll just turn on the video and I don't know, record me wiping my eyes, or I'll record me like playing with my beard, or, putting on a hat, or, adjusting jewelry or something. Or I'll just do the couple um, things that I mentioned earlier. Like, I'll practice my hook on camera, or I'll practice the transition on camera. That just helps to decrease the stress and anxiety of being on camera. At least that helps for me. And when I do that, I notice that like I usually have a much better take. And when I do that, most of the time I can just do everything that I need to do in one take. And for me, that's definitely a a strong goal. Like, I'm not, trying to spend a whole bunch of time, you know, wasting it, recording parts over and over again when I can just practice at the beginning and, you know, make it better throughout. So, yeah, that's everything before I record. So, during the recording, I already mentioned that sometimes I have like, they're called false starts or whatever, um, where I may practice the hook or practice the call to action. And sometimes if I mess those up, of course, I'll start over. One thing that I heard from Think Media and a couple other people that I try to do is batch record. So, record more than one thing at a time when you are recording. That way, you just get more out of the one recording session, and then you may not have to record as many times during the week. It really helps if you do, like, kind of series videos, like how I'm doing this series video right now. And then it just helps to keep your flow very steady and consistent throughout, all of those videos that you record. So if I recorded 3 or 4 videos in one day, hopefully the energy, the enthusiasm, the level of confidence, it would hopefully be the same steady throughout each one of the videos. And actually, this is a good time to show you um, part of my studio setup. I'm going to show you the wall and kind of what's going on behind me. All right, hold on. Let me give you a quick tour of what's going on behind me. Okay, so I just wanted to show you what's going on the wall behind me really quick for 2 reasons. The first is the batch recording that I mentioned earlier. I I batch record. So to give the illusion that, different days are passing, I will have different sweaters or different hats or different pieces of jewelry. And I just kind of switch those out. And then this is just my desk right here, my computer. And yeah, I have a humidifier in here. Nothing super special, just um, a regular desk, I have some snacks. That way I can keep working. I have some essential oil for my humidifier, comb and brush so my beard doesn't look crazy. Um, Water, because when you're recording, your mouth gets dry really fast. Books that I read. Yeah. Now, I mentioned the batch recording before and how I'll switch sweaters or jewelry or, hats to give the illusion that it's a different day. That way I can record multiple things at one time. The second reason that I wanted to show you the room is so hopefully you don't feel like you need some like grand super setup. This is just stuff that I happen to like, that makes me feel good, stuff that I use. Um, so, yeah, hopefully, whenever you're recording your podcast, you'll have things around that you like, things that you can use, things that help it to make it easier to record. Yeah, and then outside of that, during the podcast, I will make sure that I read my outline and go through it as thoroughly as I can. And then lastly, or second to last, before we get to those notes, after the podcast. So after I've recorded, I'll just do two quick things. First is I will look over the podcast, so I'll watch it or I'll listen to the entire thing. And then I'll just look for anything that I missed during the show notes section. So if there's any links that I talk about that I forgot to put in the show notes, I'll just throw those in, or any topics that I mentioned that I forgot to add in the topics mentioned section of the bottom, I'll just add those in. And then the last thing is just upload to YouTube. Just upload the video to YouTube. So yeah, that's before, during, and after the podcast. And I showed you my lighting source, the regular window that I use, my very plain desk, the setup with stuff that I like, and the multiple clothing options for when I batch record videos. Cool. Well, thank you so much for sticking around for this long. If you do like this video, make sure to like, subscribe. Before we head out, I do just want to make sure I give you the notes, the tips, the things that I've learned about recording. That way, recording will be a lot easier and simpler for you. So, the first thing, and there's only five, real quick. First, make sure you clean your camera. Sounds so silly, sounds so like a duh moment, but I I would be embarrassed to tell you the amount of times that I've forgotten to clean my camera only to have my phone give me a little notification that says clean your camera for a clear picture. So clean your camera if you want to get that clearer picture. Second thing, check the lighting before you record. There have been times where I've started recording and just opened the window, but it was too open and my face was too bright to see or something. So definitely check the lighting before you record. Number three, have a quiet environment. It's so much easier to edit, or you may not even really have to edit noise out or anything if there's no noise to begin with. I try to have as quiet of an environment as I can, in a room by myself with the doors shut, nothing too noisy going on. So, yeah. Number four, fill the room with things that you like or things that make it easier to create. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. I try to have things on my wall that help make it easier to record, like my hats, some of my sweaters I store on the walls. Um, the art I make, it makes me feel good. and a great place to store it is on the wall. So have things in your space that make you feel good. If you feel good, you'll want to be in that space and record more often. And if you have things in that space that make it easier to create, you will create more often. So it'll make it easier for you to make your podcast. It'll make it an enjoyable experience for you. And then last but not least, actually super important, and I wish someone had told me this before I started, think about your storage space and uploading convenience. This is what I mean. So, storage space. If you're recording videos or audio, they're going to use up space, right? If you're recording video, they're going to use up a lot of space. You may be using a gigabyte or more per video that you have recorded. So if you're using your phone, for example, like I am, and you only have a certain storage amount, that space can get filled up quickly. Let's say you have, I don't know, 128 gigabytes, right, of storage. That's pretty mid tier for most people's storage, right? After so many videos, that storage space will start to get lower and lower, and then you'll have to figure out what you're going to do with those videos. If you're going to put them in maybe an external storage space, if you're going to upload them to cloud based storage, how much that'll cost, how much space you have there, or if you will end up deleting them. So definitely something to think about. Make sure you have enough storage space. What I personally do is record my videos from my phone, then I upload them straight to YouTube from there, like from my phone. And then after I hit so many videos, I say maybe every five or six, I will just transfer them from my phone to this, my have an external hard drive. You do not have to necessarily have an external hard drive. You can delete them, you can put them into cloud storage, but whatever you choose, make sure you have some kind of plan for your storage for your videos. And then that way, if anything ever happens, let's say something happens to YouTube or my, you know, computer goes down or something, like I always have an additional copy of these videos. And then last, uploading convenience. So it's pretty easy for me to upload straight from my phone to YouTube. If you have a different device, um, think about how convenient it would be to get those videos off of that device onto a computer and upload it to YouTube, or upload it straight to YouTube from that device. So, yeah, things to consider. Hope that makes making your podcast easier. Check out these videos here to go deeper on making podcast content.